All right, so we finished up Chandler, and we'll start on Dark Elf. I've personally, there's a couple Dark Elves running around in town. Let's get right into their costuming. So they are like an elf. You've encountered Dark Elves in a lot of other high fantasy settings, I'm sure. If you're LARPing, then you've probably gotten into some kind of fantasy setting at one point, and there were probably Dark Elves in it. Um, they have purple skin and gray and white hair. A lot of people wear wigs when they play Dark Elves, and they have pointy ears. So, pretty generic insert Dark Elf from any kind of high fantasy type of environment or world that you've seen. They have a unique history here, which if you plan on playing a Dark Elf, I highly recommend you look into the history of Dark Elves. Um, I wouldn't say that there's a whole lot of animosity between people and other races and dark elves. Nobody really sees a dark elf and goes like, yeah, that's a bad guy. Like nobody, I haven't really ran into too many people that do that, uh, or races that are like particularly opposed to dark elves. Although I have heard of it happening. So um, this is kind of when you first. This is kind of the first race that you'd play that might bring a level of suspicion with it, uh, but there are plenty of like dark elves running around in town that are like upstanding citizens in town. So I wouldn't ever let that really get to you if you want to play dark elf. Dark elves are cool. They're edgy. They're awesome. Their costumings is very simple. It's just the skin color plus the ears and the white hair. And a lot of people do like spray hair stuff too. I've seen that. Racials, bonus to archery. Archery is interesting. Uh, Recently, there's been a lot of introduction to archery skills because archery used to be this kind of uh, barely usable way of fighting, and there wasn't any next to any type of skill or pathway for archers to go. It was just kind of this extra thing that you did, and having a bonus to archery nowadays is actually pretty okay. You just get to add 1 point of damage when you're using a bow. Uh, It's pretty okay for 3 build. This you're not really giving up a whole lot of build to get this bonus, and I would recommend picking up bonuses all the time. It's super cool. So yeah, that's archery. Reduced knavery. So we talked about in Chandler reduced casting. This is reduced knavery. So uh, I think the first basic skill in both knavery and weapon mastery costs 2, so there's not really a cost 1 skill. So this immediately turns that first skill to a cost of 1, which is super okay, super good. Reduced knavery is awesome. It's just like reduced casting. You just reduce any kind of skill cost by 1 to a minimum of 1. So obviously you don't get to do the stuff that costs 1 for free. Pretty good, really good. Knavery is a very strong uh, pathway to go, and having a reduction in knavery is really good. Resist spell sphere charm. Being able to resist spell spheres in general is pretty okay. Charm is kind of a very unique spell sphere, and for the longest time, it wasn't really sleep. Sleep is the generic charm like effect. Like when you think of charm, you think of sleep, and you already have below this, you have unique resist sleeps. So being able to resist spell spear, like the scariest thing that somebody throws at you from charm is like typically some kind of enslavement spell where it's like I'm going to use you to attack your friends. That's really bad when you get hit by one of those. So having these are okay. At a cost of 2, that's pretty acceptable. That's like a pretty good rate. You're not like if this was like 5 apiece, I would feel really bad about picking up this skill, but at 2 apiece, this is like really okay. Very, very worth picking up like like maybe 3 of these. And it's just like how resist magic spell works. It's just resist when you get hit, and it doesn't work. Uh, if you are unconscious, the defense doesn't automatically work. That's an important thing to understand about a lot of these defenses is that if you're knocked out, you don't get to just call defenses. You have to be conscious to use a lot of these defenses. Bonus sword. This is really good. Just like bonus archery, except it's for swords. and a lot of people use swords. So bonus add 1 damage to your sword. That's pretty good. There's not really a whole lot to talk about it. Uh, I would pick this up every time. This is really cool. Endure Shadow. Wow. Endure Shadow at will. I didn't know they had this. I have not played a dark elf. Uh, you can just endure Shadow at will. That's pretty cool. So Shadow is a weird thing. And for one build, you're not really giving up a whole lot to have this skill. So that's really good. I would say I'd be happy with this skill. When this comes up, when enduring shadow, like going into the specifics of what it means to endure shadow is out of the topic. But when enduring shadow comes up, that's super useful. Trust me, you are going to be very happy when you have this skill. Speak with spiders, just like speak with mammals, but speak with spiders. I think I've seen this once, and I've heard a story about people who escaped from like a dangerous situation because they spoke with spider and they convinced the spiders to give them a ride. And they like rode like they like escaped on the back of like spiders. Uh and that like, just for that alone, oh my gosh, it's only one build. This is for one build, man. Yeah, I take speak with spiders for one build. Just like speak with mammals, it doesn't make the conversation friendly, nor does it make them have a conversation with you. You just have the ability to, right? Um, cool. I have only heard stories essentially of speak with spiders. I have not personally seen somebody speak with spiders. Bonus darkness. Yeah, this is the edginess of Dark Elf is you get a bonus of 1 damage to anything when you're in reasonable darkness or shadow. The skill is marked on a character sheet. Um, so when it's nighttime, you do more damage. That's it. When it's nighttime or when you're in within reasonable darkness. Most of the time, this isn't really a problem. A lot of people can understand what reasonable darkness is. If you're standing by a window, uh, it's probably and it's like daytime out, you're not in reasonable darkness. If you're standing in the corner of a building where there's a big heavy shadow, you could pretty much justify this when you need to justify it. And a lot of the people have a lot of sense when it comes to applying things like this. And at the end of the day, it's only like 1 damage. So this is super cool. So if you're a sword user, base short sword is like 2 damage, and then bonus sword from up earlier here is 3, and then you're at nighttime and you're doing 4. That's really good for just having pure racials. That's like super cool. Um, Now this is interesting because I haven't really seen a lot of elder dark elves. Oh, reduce spear. Wow, that's a good skill. Um, I don't have a whole lot to say about elder dark elves. They're scary most of the time. My understanding is that they're scary, and you don't want to piss them off. Uh, Shadow walking. That's cool. Shadow walk. There's there's not a extra W. That's interesting. Um, this is probably the best skill that they have, I would assume. Skirting astral is really cool. It just basically means that you get to like walk around and nobody can like whack you, and that's a very simple understanding of it because you definitely can get whacked when you're in the astral plane. Um, but it's pretty cool. Strike from shadows again. Ooh, +3. Yeah. I haven't really looked at a whole lot at Dark Elder. Dark. Uh, Elder Dark Elf. That's what I meant to say. Unaffected by immune to sleep. That's pretty good. Uh, yeah. So not a whole lot going on here in Elder Dark Elf. Uh, but yeah, that's Dark Elf. Pretty solid race. Lots of cool roleplay. I think. I think a lot of the reason why you're playing Dark Elf is for this. Is for the big old history and like the edginess and the I'm in the shadows. These are a lot of Dark Elves play rogues. I think one of the most prominent Dark Elves is a spellcaster though. So each their own. Dark Elves, yeah, they're cool.